Good afternoon, Facebook. Steve Wilmer here with Steve Speaks, coming at you today on this beautiful Sunday right after church with the message. It was actually inspired by my pastor, Pastor Kelly. She was up preaching and teaching, and immediately God had given me this. So I'll tell you a really quick story. So about, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago, I was working for the post office. And the post office people would consider to be a pretty good job, really good benefits, a federal job, and making a really good living. And I didn't want to work for the post office anymore. I wanted to go into full-time commission sales. And of course, I prayed to God. I got the okay from God. And then I, of course, talked to my wife. And I got the okay from my wife. There's nothing like having a spouse to support you in things you want to do. So I made the decision to make that move from leaving a stable, full-time, good job to go into commission sales. And I can remember an elderly gentleman in my life, a relative, who loves me. No doubt in my mind, he loves me, always gives me great advice, always has my best interest at heart, said to me, he said, "Son, don't do that. That's not smart. That makes no sense. You've got a family to think of. You've got a family to support. Don't do that. It doesn't make any sense." And I can remember almost changing my mind. But the reason I didn't change my mind and the reason I still went forward is because I had no doubt in my mind that it was the God thing to do. I had no doubt in my mind that it was what I was called to do. And so, of course, I made that jump. I made that move. And now fast forward, 10 years later, here I am doing a Facebook Live video with you. Here I am traveling the country, speaking and teaching and motivating and inspiring others. Okay? Here I am doing that. And if I had listened to someone else, I wouldn't be here. And again, understand, this is somebody who I know loves me, who I know they love me, but if I had listened to them, I would not be living my dream. So that's why the title is You Already Know. You already know what your dream is. You already know what you're called to do. You already know that thing that God has put on the inside of you. Other people may not know it. Other people are not going to see it. And here's the thing. That's why people look at you crazy when you tell them the things you want to do. People look at you crazy. They say, that doesn't make any sense. Don't do that. How are you going to do that? The reason it doesn't make sense to them is because God didn't give them the dream. He gave you the dream. He didn't call them. He called you. And there are people that are listening to this right now live. And there are people who are going to listen to the replay. And you're going to say, you know what? He's talking directly to me. Absolutely. I'm talking to you. God is talking to you. You know the dream he's put in your heart. You know the calling he's put on your life. And we have allowed people to talk us out of the calling from God. We've allowed people to talk us out of the things that God has called us to do. Whether it's to write a book, start a business, do a company, sing a song, preach the word of God, or apply for a different job, or go higher up the chain in command at whatever job you're at. Whatever the case may be, you know what God has called you to do. So I am challenging you. I am encouraging you that whatever that dream is that's on the inside of you, whatever that thing that keeps tugging at your heart that you just can't seem to get rid of, is because it's what God has called you to do. And the thing about it is this, guys, we're all going to be held accountable when we stand before our Creator, not on what we've done, but on what He called us to do. Now I need you to hear that. Not on what we've done, but what He called us to do. So imagine standing before God and saying, God, I did this. God, I did that. God, I did this. And God, I did that. And He says, that's not what I called you to do. I called you to do this. I called you to be over there. I called you to go here. I called you to write this. I called you to say this. I called you to say that. Why didn't you do it? He's not going to accept, I was afraid. He's not going to accept that. Look at the Facebook post I did yesterday, the live Facebook post I did talking about fear. So I want to encourage you, whatever that dream that God has put in your heart, follow through on that dream. Follow through on that dream. Guys, do what God has called you to do. Follow through on your dream. Follow your dreams. They know the way. Steve Speaks.